A question that I see asked on my YouTube comments a lot is, do women do parkour? Are there any female freerunners? And if you asked me that question 10 years ago, I'd probably say, not really. Like when I started, there was literally a handful of female freerunners in the whole community. But now in 2021, there are actually loads of female freerunners, coming from all across the world with loads of different styles. And it's been pretty crazy witnessing firsthand this rise of world-class female athletes just across the last 10 years. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you my top 10 female freerunners.
Go!
Yeah! So to start off with, we are going to go over to Japan. To an athlete who is literally 14 years old and is one of the best athletes in the game, hands down. Her name, which I'm going to struggle to pronounce, is Naganji, I think. Something like that. As I say, she is 14 years old and she started parkour at the age of 7. Naganji has such an insane level of flips. Like, her creativity and her skill level within tricks is next level. Being from Japan, her style seems to reflect the style that is very popular in Japan, which is very trick heavy and aesthetically pleasing. An athlete that comes to mind with that similar sort of style is JBPK. He's one of my favourite athletes right now, and there seems to be this really creative and aesthetic style coming out of Japan. And Naganji has this style just absolutely on lock. Not only does her movement look very cool, it's extremely technically hard as well. She has such a high level in flips and aerial awareness, and it just kind of blows my mind that she's 14. I think she's hands down one of the most creative female freerunners out at the moment. And I'm going to be really curious to watch her career and see how she develops in the sport. In fact, I was surprised to find out she only has 5,000 followers on Instagram. So definitely go and support her and check her out. Alright, next on this list is Silke.
Sick. Okay, cool.
Silke is a very well-known athlete from Germany. She's part of Asha Guru and she's been in the scene for quite a while now. Silke has really built up a name for herself within the world of media. She's got a really big following on Instagram and she's appeared on television shows, etc. Silke's style could be described as the sort of German techie, flowy style. The German style of parkour often gets thrown into this category of like techie and flowy. So Silke has this ability to find very intricate runs that require really high levels of technique. She can find lines that require a very particular skill set to achieve, and she can seamlessly flow through these kinds of movements. Silke is quite small. I don't know if she'll be annoyed at me saying that, but I think her size works to her advantage in the style of parkour she does. I think it helps make her look as flowy as she does. Silke's personal story is quite interesting also. When she was a kid, she trained figure skating and gymnastics. There's this whole feature that was done on the BBC where she talks about her journey into the world of parkour and away from gymnastics. It's quite a common story where female freerunners came from gymnastics. They grew up in gymnastics, got a little bit sick of how strict it is, and then found parkour. But despite this, and kind of surprisingly, Silke's style doesn't really have any gymnastic elements. She was telling me she worked quite hard to not look like a gymnast. But speaking of gymnasts, that brings me on to the next athlete. Another one who I don't quite know how to say the name is...
Okay, I totally got her name wrong because I read her Instagram handle. Her name is Taylor. I'm just gonna have to overdub every time I said her name wrong.
Has only actually done parkour and freerunning for about 3 years. But she has a deep background in gymnastics, cheerleading, and tricking. There's sometimes this negative connotation that comes with being a gymnast when you enter the world of parkour. And that's because often when you see someone who has a gymnastic background, when it comes to doing parkour, they often look a little bit rigid and a bit, I don't know, uneasy. And so very often these ex-gymnasts really try and fight looking anything like a gymnast. But what I really like about Taylor's movement is that she hasn't necessarily tried to fight looking like a gymnast.
Taylor
trains really closely with her boyfriend Ryan Ford. And Ryan Ford is an athlete I've talked about in a past video about climb-ups. Now admittedly, I don't know Ryan personally, but I get this impression that he really values different movements. But from speaking to Taylor, she explained to me that Ryan has really helped her find her own style. And instead of encouraging her to stop looking like a gymnast and stop doing the gymnastic style movement, he's actively encouraged her to use what she's good at. And that's what I really like about Taylor movement. It's its own thing. It has its own style and it's very distinct. She'll often find runs where she can incorporate her bendy acrobatic style into them. And it moves at quite a different pace than usual parkour lines. I mean, parkour definitively is about moving quickly and efficiently. So of course,
Taylor
is more on the free running side of things. But even in free running, everything is quick, fast, and snappy movements. But I really like when you see
Taylor
do these almost slower paced runs, using things like front walkovers and back walkovers. To me, it looks really cool. But on top of creative movement,
Taylor
is also getting quite good at parkour, doing more jumps, and she's particularly good at climbs. Before we go on, I want to give a massive thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring today's video. Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below the belt hygiene and grooming. Manscaped hooked me up with their Perfect Package 3.0 kit, and this thing is amazing. They sent me the Weed Whacker, which is a nose hair trimmer, the Shears 2.0, and their complete Perfect Package 3.0. These products are perfect for just keeping all-round general good hygiene. On top of their shavers, they also send out a bunch of like hygiene goods as well. It smells really good and it just leaves you sort of smelling fresh. I'm really excited to try out this. This is their Lawnmower 3.0 water-resistant body trimmer. This is designed with an advanced skin-safe technology to avoid you cutting yourself where you don't want to be cut. So go to Manscaped today and get 20% off your order, plus free international shipping and 2 free gifts
when you use the code GIANT
at manscaped.com. Your balls and your body will thank you. Anyway, back to the video. Next on this list is Lin Young, or Young. You know what? I've never thought how her surname's pronounced. This whole video is just going to be me pronouncing people's names wrong. I think it's Young. Lin Young is an incredible athlete. Originally from Luxembourg and then moved to Brighton and then now I believe lives in Dubai, Lin has picked up stylistic elements from all across the world. She's been in the scene for 10 years now and is a very well-known athlete. In 2016, she won Red Bull's Art of Motion.
She's sponsored by Storm Freerun and X Dubai.
If I were to describe Lin's style of movement, I would say it's just very clean, precise, and flowy. Like her way of moving through obstacles always looks so flowy and like effortless. There's something to be said for athletes that make things look easy. If you watch how Lin moves, nothing looks hard for her. She's clearly very strong. You can see in the way she does handstands a lot that she has a very strong core, and that translates into her parkour. Whenever she does a climb up, it's always super clean and snappy. A lot of the athletes I've spoke about before are very free running, flip based type of athletes, but Lin tends to lean more towards parkour lines.
Lin is a real OG. She has been in the scene for a very long time and managed to stay really relevant the whole time. Not just her movement, but her achievements have been super inspiring and really has pushed the barrier for women in the sport.
Alright, so next on this list is Hazal. It's very likely you'll know Hazal if you watch Stora. She appears in the Stora videos quite a lot. Hazal is an athlete from Turkey and she's also very well known for being a Red Bull athlete.
We have chickens. They're sometimes scared, but yeah, I can pet them easily. So.
I think you can see a lot of inspiration in Hazal's movement from having trained a lot with Stora. Her movement is often quite similar to people like Benj and Max, where it's very parkour heavy. A to B, ascents, descents, as well as coming up with these interesting lines with extremely clean technique. Hazal is very powerful, and you can see it in all of her lines. She's very strong and can take impact very well. I made a video about the manpower gap not too long ago, and a lot of people believe that Hazal will probably be the first woman to do the manpower gap. And looking at some of the drops she takes, there's a very good chance she will be. On top of being probably the best female freerunner on earth, Hazal has definitely been an inspiration for a lot of the female freerunners I've spoke to. Nearly all of the athletes I spoke to listed Hazal as being their inspiration. And not too long ago, she started vlogging on YouTube and her channel's growing quite a bit. She makes these really great vlogs, so I definitely recommend checking them out. I seem to remember in one of her videos, she said the phrase, "once means forever." Oh.
One more means forever.
In reference to saying one more go when she was trying to do a jump. If she put that on a t-shirt, I would definitely buy it. Okay, so next on the list is Camilla Stefano. Now Camilla is an athlete I didn't actually know a lot about until very recently, when not that long ago she got signed to the Motors Projects. The thing to me that really stands out about Camilla's movement is kind of her eye for parkour lines. Now what I mean by that is, granted, she is very powerful and very flowy, she looks great when she moves, but what stands out to me about Camilla is her vision when it comes to parkour. Half of what makes a really good athlete is not always just their technical ability, but more so their ability to come up with creative lines. And to me, Camilla just has that down to a T. And it's always such a pleasure to watch her whenever she's in the team training cuts on the Motors projects, because you see her working out these lines. Like, a good looking line often comes down to the little intricacies, like how she links together things, how she moves her arms and continues momentum throughout her lines. On top of this, Camilla is also very technically good. Her technique is on point. I saw this clip of her striding along rails, and it's just this overall high level ability that means that when she comes up with lines, she can kind of just do them. Alright, so next on this list requires me to do a bit of a French accent, and that is Lelu. Oh, not too bad. Lelu is a 17-year-old from France. She has trained for 8 years. Lelu trains closely with Nico Flo, and it's very clear to me that her and Nico Flo inspire each other a lot. Lelu's movement is very focused around tricks. Her ability to do tricks and to link together tricks across obstacles is just next level. This is that kind of new hybrid style that I've been talking about a fair bit in recent videos. And Lelu just has this steeziness in her movement. It just always looks so good when you see her come up with these creative lines. And partly my favorite thing about watching her is her coming up with lines. She just seems to me insanely persistent when it comes to getting a line perfect. She sometimes will post videos of her trying to work up to a line, and she'll show the amount of takes it took to get it. And I personally really love seeing that. It gives you this perspective of just how hard what she is doing is. Whilst Lelu is definitely more on the tricking end of the spectrum, she was explaining to me how recently she's trying to work more on her parkour, which for me is really exciting. I'm very keen to see her current skill set mixed together with high-level parkour. So next on this list is another really young athlete. I'm starting to notice how most of the really good athletes who are female seem to be like 16 years old. Anyway, this athlete is Noah. Despite only being 16, Noah has done parkour for 9 years. And what's more is she came second place at Air Whip at the age of 13. Noah's style can definitely be described as high level, hard tricks. Like, Noah's flip technicality level is just next level. And her way of just throwing these hard tricks into random points in a line and making them look like they're hardly any effort is just next level. Like, I can definitely see how her style will develop. She's been working more on her flow and her connections lately. And once Noah has got her flow to the same level as her flips, I really can't wait to see what that looks like. I've heard her being described as kind of like the Ed Scott of the female game. Ed Scott is just great at doing these massive big tricks, and I really think Noah's going down that route. In a few years, she'll probably be able to casually bash out triple corks in the middle of a line. I'm very excited to see what she might achieve in like 5 years in the world of parkour. I can certainly see her winning something like Red Bull Art of Motion. Okay, so next on this list is another OG, which is Sydney Olsen. Now, Sydney has been in the game for 11 years, and she's part of Team Tempest. She's won Red Bull's Art of Motion, and she came first at NEPC's skill and style competition. On top of that, she's a registered stunt woman and has done quite a bit of stunt work. Now, Sydney, to me, is best described as an all-rounder. She's just good at everything. I think when I first saw her back in the day, she was more on the kind of flips end of the spectrum. Like, she was just known for having really good tricks. But over the years, she's been able to get better at pretty much everything in parkour. She's not only super powerful, but her landings are really clean. She's got great climb ups. Her climbing in general is really good. She just has this kind of aggressive, powerful style that just looks really good. But it's cool how even though she's been in the game for 11 years, I would really say that her style has come into its own over the last couple of years. Like, when you see her runs now, they all just look so perfectly pieced together. Everything just flows into the next move really well, there's no hesitation, and just all in all, it's very enjoyable to watch her runs. Yeah! And finally on this list is another 16-year-old called Elise Bickley. Elise is an insane athlete out of the UK. Her movement is just so clean. Whenever you see her move, everything is just kind of perfect.
True hippie. True hippie.
Like, not only does she have perfect landings on her jump, but just the little ways in which she connects moves together. Things don't look stop-starty and weird, they just flow into each other perfectly. Elise has had a very strong competitive career as well. She's competed at NAPC, Project Underground, and Airwhip. And from speaking to her, she is definitely looking to make a career out of parkour and stunt work. Originally, Elise was more known for her big tricks. Like, her trick repertoire is ridiculous. But she was telling me she never really cared about how the moves connected together. She would just throw a cork at the end of the line or something like that. But more and more, you can see how over the years,
Elise has become more focused on how the moves flow into each other.
like throwing a cork at the end of a line is all well and good, but the focus on connection moves and making it all just look better together.
Is clearly something Elise takes really seriously.
And with that, she's now able to intricately link flips into her lines, as well as just doing big massive moves as well. There's clips of her backfulling and gainering gaps in a gym. So although that's 10 athletes, I want to give a few quick special mentions. Rachel Go is an incredible athlete. She massively helped me put this list together, so definitely go and check her out as well. On top of that, I really wanted to mention Sasha Shiva, but I'd already sent out all my messages for the top 10 list, and it kind of felt a little bit awkward to have to take someone off for her. But I'll link all of the athletes' Instagrams I've mentioned in the description.
But as always, this is just my opinion, so comment below any athletes you think I missed.
If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. The Parkour bucket list is out now. You can massively help me by picking one of them up, donating to me on Patreon, or using the sponsored link below. Peace.